Sabres host the Mammoth tonight. We get to take a look at the JJ Peterka trade a couple of months later and how it's going. It's going pretty well for the Sabres. We'll get into it coming back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody, and welcome in to this Tuesday edition of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch the show on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe if you do watch it there. And if you would like to become a part of our Locked On Sabres text club, that's also available to you. If you're not already a subscriber, you could do that by heading over to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnSabres. Game day, Sabres hosting the Utah Mammoth. First time that they are the Mammoth in town. Of course, Utah's been here before, but it's Mammoth and it's Sabres tonight as the JJ Peterka revenge game, the Josh Doan revenge game, the Michael Kesselring revenge game all comes together just a couple of months after these two teams made the biggest trade of the offseason for each team. Peterka going to Utah. He's back. Josh Doan, Michael Kesselring, both healthy and available to play against their former team today. Today on the show, we're going to revisit that deal. It's pretty good returns early on. We'll really get into Peterka versus Josh Doan in this game, the forwards in this deal. We'll also take a look at how good Utah has been so far this year and where the Sabres currently place in the standings. Obviously, it's a big game as teams are going to start separating from the pack. The sooner, the better on that. The Sabres forward group is kind of all over the place right now with injuries, and Jiri, Kulich, and Jason Zucker are now dealing with stuff. So we'll get to what the lineup is going to look like tonight because that is a little tricky, I think, going into tonight's game, which should be a fun one. So before we get into anything, Peterka going to get a tribute video tonight? I think probably, tribute video might be a little bit strong. I think there is a difference sometimes between a thank you video and a welcome back. I think when you are Thomas Vanek or Ryan Miller, or you are somebody that has been in the organization for a long, long time and you come back, then, like a thank you video, highlights and players talking about you, and it's this big, big thing. That's different than you put a couple of highlights up. Welcome back, JJ. That's more what I would expect for Peterka. Will he get booed is a question for tonight, because I kind of think that he will. I kind of think that Peterka, it's pretty much out there that he wanted to be traded, and typically Buffalo sports fans do not take kindly to that, no matter how good you are. I mean, fans carry grudges. I was on Twitter today and was reminded of, just because, again, some fans are carrying this around, that Cal O'Reilly wanted to leave Buffalo when he was like a fourth liner, that Emerson Edom in the World Juniors in 2011 said mean things about Buffalo fans remember this stuff. And not that Peterka, it was that ugly on the way out, but just the simple fact that he did want out. I think you probably get some mild boos tonight, and I'm never going to be one to criticize a fan for booing. You want to boo a guy? Fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You paid your ticket. It's what sports fans do. And he's on the opposing team. He used to play for you. He wanted out. You boo him. That's how it works. So we'll see how that all goes. The trade so far between the Sabres and the Utah Mammoth. And by the way, today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Maybe you want that $20 off to go tonight for Sabres and Mammoth. We're only a couple hours away from puck drop, and there's still plenty of good seats available and pretty good prices. So, Game Time app for that. Peterka trade, Doan, Kesselring. Let's really put it all together. It is so early, though, to do this. I definitely recognize that. But if we were to evaluate the trade right now, it really couldn't be going better from the Sabres' perspective, other than you didn't have Michael Kesselring available to you in the first few games of the regular season. But I think the thing that is going to be needed for the Sabres to consider this trade a win is the thing that is happening, which is, can Josh Doan be somewhat close to the player offensively especially, but all around, of course, as well. But, he's going to give you more on that front. Can Josh Doan be the type of player that played the minutes, played the power play time that JJ Peterka did? And so far, again, it's happening. I don't know how long we should expect this to happen. Maybe it just will in perpetuity. We are 12 games in, and Josh Doan has been a top 6 winger for basically the entirety of that time. And he has looked good doing it. And I don't see any reason to pull him off of that. The question will be, is this just what Josh Doan is from now on? It's a role he really never got a crack at when he was in Buffalo, when he was in Utah, excuse me. Now he's getting that chance. He's playing on a line with Ryan McLeod and Alex Tuck. He's getting good minutes, 15 plus minutes a night, some power play time, which is obviously helping his offensive game as well, because so far on the power play, 3 of his 9 points are on the man advantage. In Utah, he wouldn't have had those 3 points because he wouldn't have been on the power play. So that helps. The way the Sabres win this trade is if Doan is close to Peterka. Adds a role, he's going to give you more defensively. Because Kesselring is the meat of the trade at the original deal for the Sabres. He's what they really, really wanted. Doan was kind of a throw-in. I mean, as we saw from Beyond Blue and Gold, Utah was really unwilling to trade him at the beginning. So as a throw-in, they didn't really want him to be a throw-in. They thought he should be more of a critical piece, but eventually the Sabres did get them to put him in the deal. Kesselring, though, it almost feels like a bonus at this point. And he was the number one thing you got back. If you evaluate Peterka versus Doan right now, again, as I said, all I think you need is that to be close to a wash, and you win that deal. And to be fair, 12 games in, Doan's actually giving you more than Peterka is. Although it's so close that it's really not even worth saying more. You could just say they're both playing great. The both teams are getting exactly what they wanted. Some of the very, very early returns on some of the advanced numbers, goals above replacement so far, show that Doan is one of the elite forwards so far in the National Hockey League. That he's giving you a lot offensively, especially at even strength, but also on the power play. He's giving you a lot defensively. We know the type of player he is on that end. To be fair to Peterka, though, who in the past has been a guy that's given you all offense and no defense, he's giving Utah a lot of offense, and he's actually holding his own defensively. Now, I'm not watching every game. These are some of the numbers that are being shown that Utah's not giving up a lot of chances or a lot of goals when he is on the ice. I would imagine that is more to do with his line has the puck all the time, and he's not having to play in his own end a lot. But Peterka is doing everything Utah wants, and he's not getting them killed because he's a one-way player. This is kind of where I would say, though, you probably should expect at some point that Doan will slow down a little bit offensively, and that Peterka will slow down or will start to become a little bit more of a liability defensively. It's not to say Utah isn't expecting that. It's not to say that the Sabres aren't even expecting that. What's more likely between those two things, though, in my mind, is that Doan's offense continues. I do not think Peterka is going to go the rest of his career without being one of those guys that you see complaints about his play in his own end and turnovers and, causing goals to go in his own net. Doan, I don't know what he is going to be offensively for the long term. I am definitely not willing to say that Josh Doan is a 60 to 70 point player in perpetuity now because he's done it for 12 games at that pace. I'm not willing to say that. Is it possible? I think it is. I think it is possible that he is a 60-plus point guy. Unlikely? You could debate how much you think that it's unlikely. I would say it's definitely lower than 50% that he's that level of player. But even if he's a 45 to 55 point guy that scores 20 goals, and then Kesselring gives you what you want as a second pair level defenseman, that's how the Sabres win that trade. So at the moment, this is a win-win. Utah is getting what they want. They're scoring a lot of goals. Peterka is playing at the top of their lineup. He's giving them a lot of offense, and they're winning hockey games. That's the other part of this, is the idea that, Utah lost the trade because Doan is giving them exactly what Peterka is, and you don't have Kesselring anymore. I understand why fans would want to connect those dots. I am just never willing to say that a team lost a trade when They're getting exactly what they want from the guy they traded for, and they're winning hockey games, right? They're 8-4. You can't. What would a Utah fan say to we lost the trade? Like, okay, sure. What do I care? You want to take the mythical W on the deal? I don't care. We're winning hockey games, and the guy we got is giving us exactly what we wanted for. Hand clap. I'm glad for Josh Doan and Michael Kesselring. If I were a Utah fan, that's how I would treat it. So I'm not willing to say that the Sabres will win this deal if it continues at the pace that it's going. And part of that is because Utah is winning hockey games more than even the Sabres are right now. So that's where the trade currently sits. It's definitely a good start, though, for Buffalo. Back-to-back years of that, too, because they got criticized for that deal, that it wasn't enough, that they got, lowballed, which is exactly what was said last year about the Ryan McLeod trade, which I also agreed with at the time. And how did that trade end up looking? It looked like, okay, yeah, maybe we did get lowballed, but it worked out for us. And that might be how this trade is looking. It's, okay, yeah, we got lowballed, but it worked out for us. It's part of why GMs shouldn't be so afraid to make deals. These are trades that Kevin Adams got criticized for publicly because he didn't get enough, and both of them look good. Don't be afraid to make deals, even ones where the perception is you gave too much. Again, I like this trade right now. I would not hit the redo button. If I could have a magical redo button right now, I would not hit it. I like Peterka as a player fine, even really well. But how could you not want Josh Doan right now? And then, obviously, Kesselring has been good. Smooth, solid. He's played a little bit of a lesser role than I think we all had envisioned for him. 17 minutes a night, third pair. It's kind of what he did in Utah. But he's getting his feet wet. He's only 3 games back from injury. I think eventually he's going to play with Owen Power. And I guess the jury will really be out once we get a look at that. Because Kesselring is not giving you all that you wanted until he's playing 20 minutes a night with Owen Power and gives him that stable partner. When we come back, we'll look more at this matchup. What is Buffalo going to be putting on the ice? Because they got some injuries / sicknesses. We'll get to that when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast is presented by Monarch. Let's be honest, most of us can't even name all our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401ks, savings, and investments, it is easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why I started using Monarch. All-in-one personal finance tool brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Can help you organize your accounts, track your spending, get a better handle on your investments without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. You can review everything with your partner, see shared goals, make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboard and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money's going and how to make it work harder for you. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, Sabres and Mammoth tonight, and we are staring at a lineup for the Buffalo Sabres that is going to be missing some pieces. So the guys that are going to be out, no Jiri Kulich, no Jason Zucker. In fact, Jason Zucker retroactively has been placed on injured reserve where he will have to be for 7 days. Retroactively means they could put him on there as of Sunday. So he's eligible to come back next Sunday. It's an illness, I guess, that is with Zucker. I don't really know specifically, what he has or how sick he is. I mean, it's obviously keeping him out for a week, which isn't good. And he'll be missed because he is a good middle six winger for them on a consistent basis. He's on the number 1 power play unit, and we'll have to see who really takes that spot. I would imagine it's Alex Tuck. But again, we will see. The other missing piece in Kulich, what that means now is one forward's got to come up, and the Sabres have recalled Noah Ostlund for that. So we don't have line rushes from Tuesday morning, but based on yesterday's practice and then looking at who's now available, Tyson Kozak also back on the ice, my guess would be for tonight's lineup, and some of these lines were together, Thompson, Quinn, Greenway. That line was together. I think Jack Quinn earned that promotion. That line is going to hold. Ryan McLeod, Jason, or Josh Doan and Alex Tuck, that's going to stay together. I think you're going to get Krebs, Roseanne, and Ostlund. think that is absolutely the line you're going to see. Ostlund going to probably play on the wing. I would imagine Krebs is probably going to be the center. I think Mason Geertsen comes out of the line rushes, which he was in yesterday, and Tyson Kozak plays fourth line center. Josh Doan goes back to the wing, and Beck Malenstein plays on the wing as well. Defense grouping should be the same as well. So kind of a thin forward group. I mean, Greenway and Quinn on the top line at the beginning of the year, you probably would have been laughing at. Quinn's looked good, though. Don't love Greenway up there. Thompson loves playing with him, though, and he said that. So, okay. The kid line on line 3, Roseanne and Ostlund on the same line. Fine. Goaltender is big tonight. Alex Lyon between the pipes. Not the guy I would have anticipated. I actually thought they were probably going to go with Luukkonen. That is not the case. It is going to be Lyon for tonight's game. And he's had a solid season. He's had a solid season, and he's only really had one bad game. He didn't love the game before that either, but giving him a chance to get right back in there. Vejmelka will be between the pipes for Utah, or is expected to be. And he has been the worst of the two Utah goaltenders this year. Vitek Vanacek in 3 games has a .913 save percentage, while Vejmelka has a .890 save percentage so far. He had one really bad start. So they get Vejmelka, not afraid of him in net. When you look at the Utah lines, and this is where, you might be wondering, like, all right, who does Peterka play with in the Utah lineup? Well, he is kind of on their second line, but they really have 2 top lines that split time. That really either one you could call a top line. Barrett Hayton centers Clayton Keller and Nick Schmaltz. I think right now it's fair to say that's the top line, in part because Nick Schmaltz is one of the leading scorers in the National Hockey League this year. Kind of out of nowhere, Nick Schmaltz, who has a career-high points of 63, which he actually had last year in Utah, has 17 points in 12 games. Like, he's on pace to smash his career high in points at 29 years old. Very odd burst onto the scene this season for Nick Schmaltz, given it's this late in his career. The number 2 line, or the 1B line, whatever you want to label it as, Logan Cooley, Dylan Guenther, JJ Peterka. I love that line. The little bit I've seen of it, they are young, they are fast, they are skilled, they have the puck all the time, they are dangerous. So the top line, Schmaltz, Hayton, a little bit more physical, little bigger, Hayton more so than Schmaltz. Keller is obviously a skilled guy, smaller skilled guy, but that Cooley, Guenther, Peterka line, watch out for it. So we'll see how the Sabres want to match up their defense pairings tonight. I kind of like the idea of the Dahlin pairing going up against the Cooley line, and then putting Power out there against the Hayton, Schmaltz, Keller line. But we'll see what the Sabres want to do, if they even do match it up to that extent. So that's what Utah's looking at. Again, they've got a lot of guys that are scoring a lot of goals so far this year, or putting up at least the points. Right now, Peterka ranks 5th on the team in scoring, because Schmaltz has 17 points in 12 games. Cooley, who leads the team in goals with 8, has 12 points in 12 games. Guenther is 12 points in 12 games. Keller is 12 points in 12 games. Like, they have 4 guys that are a point per game so far this year. Now, looking at Utah recently, after a hot start, they introduced their mascot, Tusky, and then they didn't lose for 3 weeks after that. So they had a streak going with that. They have lost back-to-back games. They lost in Edmonton on the final of a little road trip that they had. Then they came home for 1 game against Tampa. Now, this is the first game of their Eastern road trip. They just played 2 nights ago. That is maybe the best optimism I have for the Sabres tonight, because I do think Utah is the better team in general, but you're catching them coming all the way from Utah, who played 2 nights ago, first game with the time adjustments and going to the East Coast. It'd be different if they played the night before, but only playing 2 nights ago, or 2 days ago. I feel decent about the Sabres' chances in this one. So that's what you're looking at for tonight, Utah and Buffalo. The Mammoth losing 2 in a row. When we come back, my bet of the night, we'll go through some of the odds. I've lost 2 games in a row. Tonight, I got a little bit of a long shot, but I think there's a good chance at it. I'll tell you why when we come back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by FanDuel. When we go to our best bets, we'll be looking at FanDuel Sportsbook. Of course, the NHL is back. The NFL's rolling. The NBA is back. There's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of the game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel is live bets on everything from who will score next to third period comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It will keep every game more exciting, especially when your team is making that late push in a game. Right now, FanDuel's giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is also presented by Game Time. I mentioned I'm going down to Miami for the next football game. Nice little Bills road game, which should be fun. A lot of fans in attendance, Buffalo fans, and they should be using the Game Time app. You got all your best ways to look at which seats are best and what your view is going to look like. Get the best deals, zone deals. Hockey season, of course, being here. You got a game tonight that you could go to. Nothing beats being in the arena for these opening games. Plus, let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Waiting in queues, surprise fees, prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Find NHL tickets for under $25. Zone deals, game changer. You pick the section. Game Time picks your seats, and you save big. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right. Bet of the night. Bets of the night even. Locked On Sabres podcast. I'll have one bet that I like more than the rest. The Sabres in this game are a home underdog to Utah. The records would speak to that. The Mammoth have lost 2 in a row, but they, so far this year, I meant to go through this a little bit when we were previewing the Mammoth. This year, they are out shooting teams at 5-on-5, 264 to 221. That is third best in the National Hockey League. They are outscoring teams at 5-on-5, 28 to 22. That is fifth best in the National Hockey League. They are a good team, no doubt about it. They at least have started well. In this game, as I mentioned, the travel, I understand why the Sabres are underdogs. I kind of don't want to touch it because I don't love the Sabres being close to a pick'em at plus 116. I also don't want to go in on Utah at minus 140. If they had been a little bit lower, that would have been, to me, the smartest bet of the night. I'm not touching the money line in this one. If I was going to go anywhere on the result of the game, I probably would go Mammoth minus 1.5 to get an empty net goal, win by 2, whatever, however you do it, plus 172. If I were going to make a bet, if you're into emotional hedges, maybe that's the bet for you. Otherwise, I'm not going near it. Over-under in this game is 6.5, plus 104 on the over, minus 128 on the under at FanDuel. My bet of the night, and if you are wondering where we stand on the season, we are still in the plus, and we still are in the plus by a lot, despite the fact that we lost the last 2. 7-4-1, which is plus 10.4 units. If you began the season with 10, you'd be at 104 as we currently stand today. I am going to go. I just think revenge goals happen. And some of the time it can be to help put a game away. And sometimes to get that cheap empty net goal where teammates will work for it. Remember last year when Vegas tried to work to get Eichel a game-winning goal? Or an empty net goal and actually blew up in their face and they allowed a game tire. That happens a lot. So where I'm going to look right now is actually going to be for JJ Peterka. And part of it is I do like the odds here. If it were closer, I might go. If he were well above Josh Doan, I think I'd go Josh Doan. You also, by the way, if you want to go double up on this, you could go Josh Doan plus 230 and JJ Peterka plus 240. How about that? Going into this game, could you have ever imagined that Josh Doan would have better odds to score tonight than JJ Peterka does? Well, he does. Plus 230 versus plus 240. If you wanted to go both of them and parlay it, you could get Peterka and Doan to score at plus 822. Really, really strong odds there. I'm not going to do that, though, for tonight. I am just going to go with Peterka at plus 240. Tie, I like both. The tie goes to the team I think is going to win tonight. And I would lean towards Utah. And if I get that empty net situation, my backdoor cheap empty netter cover would be for Peterka, because I think it's more likely he's going to be in that situation tonight than Doan will be. So I'm going to go Peterka plus 240 to score a goal tonight. That's my that's your emotional hedge bet of the night, if you will. So that's what you're looking at. By the way, you want to get really wild here? Let's parlay Josh. Let's do a trio revenge goal bet. Josh Doan plus 230 to score, JJ Peterka plus 240 to score, and Michael Kesselring at plus 2,000 to score, plus 14,684. How about that? That would be 10 to win, $1,468. Kesselring at plus 2,000. You know, he could be that empty net guy out there late in the game trying to close it out if the Sabres were to be ahead. I am not going to go for those three all to score, but I'm going to stick with my Peterka bet as bet of the night. All right, Sabres and Mammoth. We'll see what happens. And if you want more hockey talk, be sure to check out Locked On NHL Game Night. That's available wherever you get your podcast. Locked On Fantasy Hockey also has you covered for all your lineup decisions that you might have to make going forward if you're on a daily fantasy schedule like I am for fantasy hockey. Check it out wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Talk to you after Sabres and Mammoth. You're on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.